Welcome to the Folktale Project. This is Dan Schulz. Today's story is a Brazilian folktale. This is How the Toad Got His Bruises. Once upon a time, ages and ages ago, the toad had smooth skin. In those days he was a great roamer. He never could be found in his own house. If anyone had a party, he was sure to go, no matter how far away from home it was, or how long it took to get there. One day, the toad received an invitation to attend a party in the sky. "You never can get to this party," said his friend, the armadillo. "You know how slowly you travel here upon earth." "Wait and see whether or not I go to the party," said the toad. Not far from the toad's house there lived a big black buzzard. No one liked the buzzard. He was very unpopular with all the birds and beasts. The toad hopped over to the buzzard's house. The buzzard was outside the door making music on his violin. "Good morning, friend buzzard," said the toad. "Are you going to attend the party in the sky?" The buzzard replied that he was planning to go. "That is good," said the toad. "May I have the pleasure of your company for the trip?" The buzzard was delighted to have the toad seek his company. It was a new experience. "I will be charmed to go to the party with you," replied the buzzard. "What time shall we start?" "We'll start at 4 o'clock, said the toad. "Come to my house, and we'll go on from there. Be sure to bring your violin with you." Promptly, at 4 o'clock, the buzzard arrived at the toad's house. He had his violin with him, of course, because the toad had asked him to bring it. "I'm not quite ready to go," the toad called out. "Just leave your violin there by the door and step inside. It will take me only a minute to finish getting ready." The buzzard laid his violin carefully outside the door and went inside the toad's house. The toad jumped through the window and hid himself inside the violin. The buzzard waited and waited for the toad to get ready, but he did not hear a word from the toad. Finally, he got tired of waiting. He picked up his violin and started. When he arrived at the party, he was a trifle late, but explained how he had waited for the toad. "How foolish to wait a minute for the toad," said his hosts. "How could the toad ever get to a party in the sky? We just asked him as a joke, because he is such a great gadabout. Lay down your violin and come to the feast." The buzzard laid down his violin. As soon as there was no one looking, out hopped the toad. He was laughing from ear to ear. "So, they thought I would not come to the party. What a joke! How surprised they will be to see me here," he said. There was nobody at the feast who was as gay as the toad. When the buzzard asked how he arrived, he said, "I'll tell you some other day." Then he went on eating and dancing. The buzzard did not have a very good time at the party. He decided that he would go home early. He went away without saying goodbye to his hosts and without taking his violin with him. At the end of the party, the toad hopped inside the violin and waited for the buzzard to take him home. Nobody picked up the violin, and the toad began to be very much worried. He almost wished he had not come. After a while, the falcon noticed the violin. "The violin belongs to the buzzard. He must have forgotten to take it home. I'll carry it back for him," he said. The falcon flew towards the earth with the violin. The toad shook about terribly inside of the violin. He got very tired. The falcon got tired too. "I'm not going to carry this heavy old violin to the buzzards another minute," said the falcon. "I was foolish to offer to carry it in the first place. The buzzard is no friend of mine." He let the violin fall. Down, down it fell toward earth. Oh, little stones, get out of my way!" called the toad as he fell. The little stones had deaf ears. They did not get out of the way. When the toad crawled out of the wrecked violin, he was so covered with bruises that he could hardly hop home. The buzzard never knew what became of his violin, or why the toad had lost his good looks. To this very day, the toad shows his bruises, and he is entirely cured of being a roamer. And that is the Brazilian folktale of how the toad got his bruises. I love these origin tales, especially Elsie Spicer Ellis's Brazilian tales. This is Dan Schulz for the Folktale Project. Don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, Overcast, anywhere you like to get your podcasts. You can also follow us on Twitter at Folktale Project. You can find us on Auto Radio, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and on Spotify. Don't forget that you can also always head over to folktaleproject.com, where you'll find a new story waiting for you every weekday morning. Thanks for listening.